The following program is brought to you as a community service of Time Warner Cable. The views and opinions expressed on this program by the hosts and guests do not necessarily represent the views of Time Warner Cable.
You know, one of the aspects of the Palm Springs International Festival of Short Films, now in progress at the Camelot Theaters in Palm Springs, is the way new filmmakers are highlighted. Our guest is Rahul Gandotra, and his film, On the Road, has been nominated for a Student Foreign Oscar, and it will play at the Camelot Theater this Sunday, the closing night of the festival. You will meet Rahul and find out more about him and his amazing film after a word about the Camelot. The Camelot Theater's at 2300 Barista Road in Palm Springs, home to the finest films from throughout the world, art films, commercial films, and documentaries. In addition to the fine motion picture fair, there is fine food in the Camelot Cafe and cool, refreshing cocktails and appetizers Wednesday through Sunday in the Cinnabar. It has everything because it is Camelot. The number to call for more information, 760-325-6565. Well, Rahul, welcome to this table. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
And I understand, before we talk about The Road Home, which is your film, that you attended, this is your first film festival, correct?
Yeah, this is the world premiere of the short film, yes.
Yeah, this is a short film, and it is being world premiered Sunday. But have you attended regular long feature film festivals?
I've been to other festivals, but more as a participant rather than an invited filmmaker. So this is really my first festival where I am screening my own film.
And before we started this conversation, you said you were shocked by it. So I want to know why you were shocked by it.
I was shocked by it because, you know, most of the attention goes to feature films. You know, I went to Cannes this year, and you see, you know, the attention is placed on all the big films there, like Wall Street and things like that. And to come to here, you know, just small little short films from unknown filmmakers, and then you're having a packed out crowd, you know, the whole place was completely packed. I had to take a photo of it. You know, it's a bit shocking for me, you know. It's, and, you know, just sometimes the vibrance that you have at film festivals are not the same as when you go to the normal Cineplex. Yeah. So you can feel an electricity that sometimes you don't necessarily feel in the normal cinemas around the country.
And this excited you?
Yeah, of course.
And I guess you've been well treated here.
Well, so far, yeah.
Yeah.
I came in yesterday, and it's been really great so far.
Right, right. And then you went to the after party afterwards?
Of course,
wines?
Yes. I hadn't eaten the whole day, so I didn't know that there was going to be dinner served. So I was so thankful because I took 2 servings and,
sure,
and stuff
why not?
like that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And your film, The Road Home, you said is semi-biographical.
It's semi-autobiographical in terms of the themes in the film. The story is about a 10-year-old boy who runs away from a boarding school in the Himalayas to get back to his parents in England. I never did that, but the themes that I explore within the film are very real to me. I was actually born in England. I had lived there for a lot of my life before I had gone to the boarding school. And then when I went there, people would always ask me where I'm from. And then I would say, I'm English. I'm from England. And of course, if you take a look at me, I look Indian, right? I was born to Indian parents. So of course there was that contradiction. And given the history between England and India, England being the colonizer, you know, people, when I said, oh, I'm not Indian, because I was only defending what I felt inside, people looked at me and said, what is wrong with you? Are you ashamed of your culture, your roots, you know, your homeland? And I had to then remember I was 9, so
When
I
you-
didn't have the, the lexicon or the terminology or the scope now to explain myself better. But at the time, I was just trying to defend the feeling that I felt inside.
Right, right. Well, I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
In any culture, and if you're raised in a different culture, I mean, that obviously becomes yours.
Yeah, I mean, there's a term that I had only learned recently, and that was kind of when I was making the film. They call us third cultured kids, people raised in multiple countries during your, crucial developmental years. So we're kind of been fed different software, different cultures all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you went to the school. Is this the school that you went to? No.
Yeah, I went to this boarding school. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went there for 7 years.
Right. And I mean, the teachers are different to the students are different. They're not, they're everybody, right?
Well, I mean, just to boil it down for you, my
Yeah.
last year there, I was in 10th grade. I left at the end of my 10th grade, and we had 52 students, and we had about 26 different nationalities. I think that 60% of the teachers at the time were from different countries around the world. I think 40% were Indian. So that kind of gives you a bit of the flavor. I mean, if you were to go to the school there,
Yeah.
you would not think that this place is India.
That's which you mentioned that also before we were on camera, that you never really felt India,
Well,
because
no.
it was so different.
Well, I mean, in that place, yes.
Yeah.
It did not, I mean, if you go there, if you go to the actual town, which is
Yeah.
right next to it, Missouri, and then you go to the school itself, I would bet money that you would not consider the place to be India. You'd
Yeah.
consider this some other school in, in America or in England. The person who kind of helped, make this shoot really successful, our line producer in India, I took him up there. He had never gone there. He's from India, lived there all his life. He goes up there and he looks around and he's seeing American teachers pass by, an Australian teacher pass by, and then he says, "This is not really India." And I said, "Exactly." But it's hard to kind of explain until you go there for
Now,
yourself.
why did your parents send you there?
That's a long story, but I'll see if I can shorten it down. Basically, my father had gone to England to get his final medical degree, and he had promised my grandmother at the time that he would actually go back. Now, of course, if you look at most immigrant stories, 2 years becomes 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and my father, when he came out, he actually, in a way, it was a big opening for him. He had never gone out of the country. He had lived in a very small village in India, and when he came out, he, had these big aspirations for me, and he wanted me to go to, to international schools. His dream, and it's actually quoted in the film, was that I do my undergraduate degree at the London School of Economics and then my MBA at Harvard. And at the age of 10, or I think younger, I said any damn fool could do business, and then he stayed quiet. I now revise what I said then.
Because you need business when you make a film, right?
Well, no, I wasn't even going into film at that time.
Yeah.
But basically, I kind of now revise my statements about that. Going into business is not easy, and it does require some know-how. So anyways, my father wanted to send me to this school, partly because he was actually going back. He wanted me to be close to him, and he didn't want to sacrifice my education, because going to that school would have prepared you for the APs over here, the A-levels in England, and as well as many other schools around the world.
Right. Well, and you did come to the United States for university
Yes,
training.
my parents actually moved to the U.S. He wasn't able to settle down in India, and he eventually did come to the U.S., and I actually went to the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor.
Yeah. And, of course, we are to talk about the film. The film tells the story of a little, now tell me in simple terms, and our audience, about the film.
The film, in a nutshell, is about a 10-year-old boy who escapes from a boarding school in the Himalayas to get back to his parents in England.
Yeah.
While on the trip, he has to deal with how the world views him based on his, racial and skin tone, as opposed to what he feels inside. And and we see him struggle through that, contradiction, of how people treat him and how he has to deal with it.
Yeah. Now, did you write this as well? The screenplay?
I co-wrote it with my screenwriting partner.
Then and you produced it,
Well, it was co-produced. I I took a lot of loans out of it, but then I had a producer. Her name was Amina Ayub. She works in the British film industry.
But you directed it.
I directed it. That's the one thing I did on my own. Yes. But no, you have a whole team behind you. You as a director are only as good as your team.
I'm going to ask you a very personal question, since we have been discussing the differences. Because you are Indian, and you're English, but the Indian coloring. Has anyone mistaken you for a Muslim, and has that caused any problems?
I've been mistaken for many things. If I'm in England, people will consider me an American for my accent. If I'm in America, people say, well, your accent's not really American. And then if I'm from if you look at someone from India, they'll look at me and say, well, he's just an American confused born Desi. They have this term called ABCD. So it depends on who's looking at me. I'm still the same person.
Well, of course.
I'm a mixture of multiple cultures.
Isn't that wonderful?
But everyone views me slightly different. So when I keep on saying, "Oh, I'm not Indian," they become totally confused because.
So how does the boy in your film? I don't want to give it away, but how does he resolve this?
You'll have to watch the film.
That's right. And it is Sunday night, and it is at the Camelot Theater.
It's playing. Its first screening is at 3 p.m.
That is the first screening. Are they going to repeat it later or not?
Well, that's its only screening. If it actually wins an award, I assume it will be playing again, but I have no idea.
Yeah, well,
but it's playing at 3 p.m.
Since it was nominated for an Oscar as a foreign film, I would think it might win.
Well, you never know.
Every judge is different.
I would hope. But
and then you also have the favorites among the people who go to the festival as well, the People's Award, so to speak.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if people like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try to get there Sunday at 3.
I'll look out for you.
I really, really want to. And the road home, obviously, it's dealing with issues that people are facing all the time. So it isn't that it's unusual. It's not.
Well, I think it's growing some more now. I don't think people moved as much, say, before World War II. Of course, there were people moving, but I think now with the advent of airplanes and everything, I think you have a lot of people moving. I think there's also a lot more movement. People who experience the same kind of issues in a very visceral way are people who are in the military, people who are diplomats, people who become refugees. And the thing is, it's kind of a misunderstood topic because it's not as big as it should be. So so even the research that's been done on it has only started in about the 70s, and now it's kind of growing. And just as a case in point, I only knew about the term a third cultured kid only 2 or 3 years ago. And I have to say, having read certain books and whatnot, it has actually given me a framework to kind of easily describe it to people, which I didn't necessarily have before.
That's interesting.
So yes, people are moving around, but I think their moving around happens when they're in their 20s, when your character's then kind of sort of formed, your likes, your dislikes. A lot of people say you can kind of choose your home, and I kind of disagree. I would say home is something that's given to you. It's put into you before you're even conscious of it.
Correct.
When you're 3, 4, I don't think most people remember what's being put into you at the time. So, and then you have certain comforts and stuff like that.
Well, I would think that it gives you a much greater understanding of the world. I would think it would be a very, very beneficial way to be raised.
It's if I'm being honest, there's both positives and negatives. But yes, one of the positives is you do get to see things from different points of view.
Right. We're going to return to you, Rahul.
Sure.
But first, this word from our sponsors.
Welcome to the magnificent Palm Springs Air Museum, located at the Palm Springs Airport, only minutes from the center of town, just off the 10 freeway at the Gene Autry exit. For group reservations and schedules, please call 760-778-6262. Experience the exciting history of aviation at the Palm Springs Air Museum.
Can't you hear me calling Caroline, Caroline?
Caroline! Hey, Caroline, we're calling!
You're wasting your time. She can't hear a thing.
Oh, that's a shame. I wanted to tell her about Advanced Hearing's new innovation called Anthem.
Well, you're going to have to write her a note.
Okay, here I go. Where is she?
She's somewhere in the kitchen with Dinah.
Let us make a difference in your life.
Call 760-341-9619.
Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah, strumming on the old banjo.
You know, the finest food in the Coachella Valley can be found at La Valerie's, the beautiful eatery where dining is truly an art. Exquisite food and ambiance that cannot be beaten. And of course, it's the reason why the Zagat International Food Survey always seems to choose La Valerie's as best in the valley for food, ambiance, and service. La Valerie's is open 7 days and evenings a week with a wonderful Sunday champagne brunch and, of course, the gazebo for private parties and a catering that will bring the finest of culinary treats to your home and your friends. La Valerie's. For more information, please call 760-325-5059. Our guest is a filmmaker of The Road Home, a very interesting movie that is partially autobiographical.
Yeah, that's true.
The child. What did you look for in him, and what did you find, and was it difficult to find the right person for this role?
It was quite difficult. It was quite difficult. We had to go through about 6 weeks of casting. This is actually a student film. It was part of my master's thesis project.
Right.
And because it was that, you know, you don't have all the money in the world
Yes.
like the studios do. So what happens is a lot of people start doing multiple roles. And I can only tell you from experience that what a casting director does is unbelievable because of the amount of phone calls they have to make, how many bookings they have to do. I did some of it, and I had to do it for about 6 weeks. So
Right.
it's a lot of work. And the difficulty, I think, in in finding this character was that if I had had a white boy to cast in England, I would have had 200 people, no problem.
Yeah.
But because of the age, because of the physical features the person had to have, I did not have as many people to choose from. Either because I didn't have a proper casting director, I was doing it, and I didn't have that much bandwidth to handle, or because there weren't as many people around. Someone told me there that most of the people who come from an Indian origin don't actually get into the arts until much later, because
Oh.
I think parents actually push them into the traditional careers. So I think, you know, I was looking for a boy who was around 10, and from what I was told later on, that a lot of these people kids who start making their own decisions, start deciding to go into the arts, say 12 or 13. So, you know, I did not have as many people to look for. And also the other thing was, sometimes, you know, kids, while they can be very natural, sometimes have a hard time playing something farther, you know, a lot farther than themselves. You know, some of it has to come down to acting training because they haven't had acting training and stuff like that. So sometimes I was picking the person partly because of how their upbringing really was.
Interesting.
So I had to find someone who had something similar to me. The boy is actually mixed breed. His father is English, his mother is Indian. But the interesting thing is his mother, who read the script, had a very personal attachment to it because she went through the same things I went through.
How interesting. That's
So
very
she actually went to a boarding school in Darjeeling. She ran into the same problems about wanting to be, you know, feeling English, but everyone treating her as Indian. So, so in a way, it was more of a familial thing.
And she
you know,
could teach him her
yeah,
feelings.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not something that's easy to fully understand. It took my father me giving him books to read, to actually understand me, and he's been with me. He's known me for the last 34 years of my life. So it was only until he read that book that he understood me. So it's a bit hard to kind of grasp. So I think that the mother played an instrumental role, and he's a good actor as well. So
That's good. That's wonderful, and it'll start him on his way.
Yeah, definitely.
Does he want to stay with acting?
He does want to stay with acting, but as a lot of child actors will tell you, that he's now kind of gone through a growth spurt. So obviously casting directors, you know, want to find people, you know, when they see the show reel, they want to see something that is current.
Of course.
And obviously
So
he's
he
grown
kind of grew
a little-
up after
yeah,
you did the movie.
Right after
How
we
long did
grew
it
up.
take you to do the movie?
You'll be surprised. It took from start to finish, it took probably about 2 years.
And then because it is a student thesis, what about the funding? How did you get funding?
Funding was done through loans.
Yeah.
Personal student loans. The thing was, I had kind of realized that, I hope this is not my last film. You know, I wanted to go
I know you want to
further.
make a feature out
Yeah,
of this.
definitely, yeah.
And hopefully with the people that come to this, you might meet someone right here.
Maybe
at the market. They call it the Film Festival market.
The thing is, it's a matter of finding a producer who has the experience to kind of handle features, because obviously features is a much bigger deal with more money. So in a way, it's a matter of finding a producer who would be attracted to the script.
Would you want to expect to direct it?
Of course.
Okay. Now, another thing, filming the scenes at the boarding school, this was done in India.
Yeah.
So what was it like to film in India next to what you were really accustomed to?
Shooting in India is actually very difficult for someone coming from the outside. Things are done in a very different way than, say, in England or in America, where you can follow a certain set of steps, and then you're on your merry way. Whereas in India, the easiest way to explain it to you is it's like the Wild West.
Okay, I've never heard that.
And as our taxi driver said, if you follow the rules, it could actually hurt you. So you have to improvise a lot of the times. And in a way, sometimes it was an interesting feeling, because you're not bogged down by a system of following certain things. But then, of course, if you're improvising, sometimes that can backfire and hit you in the face. So, but it's really the Wild West.
You don't have the union situation, or do you? That we have here?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, the thing is, when I went to India and I did my own research, what I had realized is there's two filmmaking cultures there. One is the Bollywood filmmaking culture, which is completely different, and they do things very different. And then there's another culture, there's the international productions culture, which is kind of like at the standards and at the level of how it is in America and England. The only problem, though, is they're much more expensive.
They are.
Yeah.
But now the film that won so much last year, was that a Bollywood?
Which?
I can't think of the name of it now.
The short film, or?
No, a long film. No, it won all kinds of awards. The Boy, the Millionaire. Huh?
Oh, Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes.
No. But if you look behind it, that was, for all intents and purposes, I would say it was done by a British crew, British director.
Yeah.
Financing was from Britain. So while it might look like a Bollywood film, screenwriter was British, director was British, executive producer was British.
Yeah.
Financed by a pretty big television channel over there. So I mean, the crew were little. Even the main actor, the elder boy, he was also British. So it's a bit of a disguise.
Interesting, very interesting. But then, so you sort of go in the middle, because you're not Bollywood and you're not big time.
I'm somewhere in the middle. But I mean, I aspire. I do understand that when you're making a film, you're there to entertain audiences. But at the same time, I also want to kind of seep in some sort of deeper issues and deeper themes.
I think
at least a deeper
that.
message.
We need that. We really do. So, do you want to tell me what it did cost?
You'd have to ask my producer. I don't know the numbers on that, but I can tell you what it did cost me. It cost me a social life and a girlfriend I wanted to marry.
Uh-oh. I hope it was worth it.
You'll go and see.
Now, if it becomes tremendously successful and wins awards, do you think the girlfriend will come back?
She already has another boyfriend, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
No, it was a long distance. No, she was really nice. We had a long distance relationship. I was in England, she was in Austria.
Yeah.
We were only seeing each other 3 weeks out of the year, but we were doing things on Skype. So I can understand why it broke up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think so.
Well,
maybe you can give her a ring and ask her.
I don't think that people realize how often anyone in the arts, what they have to give up in their personal lives very often.
Well, the thing is, I think most people, they're used to certain regularity. A lot of my friends, I had a liberal arts degree. I was about to go into business consulting, and a lot of my friends are lawyers. They're having steady jobs, and when they look at me, they look at me and say, "What are you doing?" The amount of work you're having to do. And I try to tell them, look, at least in filmmaking, and I think it's in all the arts, it's all about what you can show. The degree doesn't matter as much from my experience. So, and it takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort to show something and do something that's good,
What prompted you? What instilled this in you? I'm sure there's no one in your family has been in the arts.
No.
Your father's a doctor.
My father's a doctor. How did it all start? Well, I think Actually, I wanted to be a professional tennis player. That didn't work out because I was injured for
Did
a
you
long
watch
time.
Today at all?
Of course I've been watching Today.
We don't have time to talk about that, but we will after the show.
And, you know, unfortunately that didn't work out. And then what happened was I was trying different things out. I was thinking of going to business consulting. I was going into becoming a professor. You know, I was doing really well in the academics. And at the same time, I was also doing photography. And after trying, you know, helping one of our PhD students out, and I realized, okay, we're just shuffling paper from one place to the other. It's great to read the research, but to actually do it is another thing. I had a writing professor at U of M who had seen my artwork, had seen everything, and she says, well, you know, she kind of twisted my arm and said, look, you don't want to go into business consulting. You don't know what it's going to really be. You're going to be going to, you know, these small little places, and you're going to be in hotels, and you're not going to see the world the way you're thinking, you know. Yeah. So she said, why don't you go into filmmaking? You know, you have, you know, the ability to kind of do the business side. You have the ability to do the writing. I've seen your artwork, and
you didn't
she kind of pushed me into it.
And you didn't really study that at school.
For my undergrad, no, but for my master's degree, I did.
Which is why the film.
Yeah.
Okay, the film is The Road Home. And I don't know if you can get in to the Camelot Theater at 3 o'clock on Sunday to see this film, because I think the film festival, I know it was sold out opening night, and the whole series may be sold out, but you could try. And anyway, it's a film to think about, and if it wins, it'll be shown again, and we hope that it does. And Rahul, I really appreciate your being here.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you a lot of luck, and I wish you a lot of luck with a feature version
thank you.
of The Road Home.
Thank you.
And I think that you'll make it.
Thank
and
you
you'll
so
find a new
much.
girlfriend. And I hope that you, our viewers, will be back with us next time, right here on Time Warner Cable TV 111. And then also you can find us on demand on 110 Desert Cities 110. And if you happen to be in San Diego, or if you're there now, you will find us on demand in San Diego, Time Warner San Diego, and that is 144. You can also follow me on Facebook. I'm going to try to put a link of this film on my Facebook page, so try that. I'll be doing that before it airs, this show, which is airing this weekend. And also, you can follow me on Twitter. But my name on Twitter, I don't use my name. I'm Small Scribe. Okay, thanks for being with us, and do be with us next time.